Transgender Day of Visibility. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and once again, we're having one of these transgender holidays in the GLBT community. Remember, the G goes first because they did all the work in the 1970s that got everybody the rights that we actually have today. Because, those rights were fought for with, riots and stuff. And I actually have a video called, I think it was called Transgender Women Was Kangs, or Transgender Women Was Kings, that goes over the historical inaccuracies of the narrative that allegedly transgender women of color did all the work during the gay liberation movement that got everybody the rights that we have now. Okay, that's not true. It was cisgender gay men. Almost exclusively. And I would say it was probably mostly white men, just for the record. And I don't want to say why. I just think that you should look into the history, and that's what it was. Harvey Milk, not a transgender woman of color. All right. So that being said, there's all these little holidays for trans people. If you're a GLBT person and you're supposed to care about them, and they're so there's Trans Day of Visibility, and then there's also Trans Day of Remembrance, and I think there might be another one or two. They also have their own pride festivities generally, where there's if you're trans, you can go ahead and go to your own special parade that'll be a day before the other parade, which, by the way, a number of years ago I always found the most fun, because a number of years ago not that many people went to it. It was not generally cool, and I actually knew trans people, and it felt like it actually had a purpose 7-8 years ago when I would go. So I enjoyed going to that at the time, and I don't have a problem with trans people as a whole. I have a problem with trenders. I have a problem with people I have a problem with the notion that people have been brainwashed into thinking that being trans will maybe solve their problems, and they're not actually trans, and then they have to detransition. I have a problem with that, obviously, as anybody sane would, and I'm not even all that sane. But that being said, I came across the most delightfully cringe-worthy post on Facebook for Transgender Visibility Day, and I just had to share it. I just had to read over it because it's just so absurd. And keep in mind, I actually used to know this person. It would sound like it was a po, but I actually used to know this person in my past life. I didn't know them well. I had met them a few times and had seen them perform. They were in this band, and I didn't really ever think that they were very cool, honestly. They were friends with some of my friends, and they thought that this person was cool. I didn't. Really, I didn't think that they seemed that cool. I didn't think that they seemed all that smart. But, I felt compelled to be friends with them because that's what the scene is like in the performing arts. You're supposed to just sort of be friends with the people that are friends with your friends. And now, 8 years later, this is the kind of crap that they're posting on Facebook. And I feel kind of, okay, I'll read it. A thought on Trans Day of Visibility Divisibility. First off, fuck the police, racist, murdering, occupying force for white supremacist patriarchal capitalism, and fuck liberal politicians and their realtor corporate overlords. Decriminalize homelessness and affordable housing for everyone. Onto my trans blisters. As a femme brick every day, I feel both overly visible and invisible. Awkward, insincere smiles compete with ugly sneers. Been beat down multiple times over the years for being trans queer, but cis bullshit isn't what hurts the most. It's the stink eye and scene shit from other trans queers. just because I'm an aging, crazy brick femme, poor punk who wants to destroy the binary, not flip sides. There are, of course, men and women who happen to be trans whose lives need to be respected, but there are also those who are neither and or both genders. Doesn't mean you get to throw me away. I am not a trend. I have been out and loud for decades, so please keep fighting heterosexist, transphobic, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, but also nurture empathy, nuance, love. We need each other or we are further divided and conquered. So, okay, the immediate urge is obviously to just be like, whoa, this person's crazy, and make fun of them, and sure, this person has obviously ended up in a state of mind where they are not, they're not seeing the greater philosophical picture of life, I would probably reckon. I don't know, just a hunch. They're probably a little bit caught up in their own reality, and so much so that their rage is overcoming even the possibility of making their own life happier, is what I would guess. But they're also sort of telling other people what to do at the same time, which is what makes it difficult to have any sort of sympathy for this person, because it's like they're just raging at everyone and everything. But at the same time, this person is telling the truth when they say that they've been out for decades. Like, they were weird, crazy, gender queer type person for longer than the transgender phenomenon came into being. Like, this person, for whatever reason, was already like that. And now, and for a while, okay, for a while it wasn't cool. This person was really fringy, and then eventually it became trendy to be, to hate gender and to be, somebody that was biologically male that dress up as a female, and it was trendy, and people were wanting to book shows with people that were like that just for the fact that they were like that. And now it's becoming apparently non-trendy, and it's post-hip, which means that it was cool a few years ago, but it's no longer cool. But the people that rode on that bandwagon still kind of want to ride on that bandwagon, and other people are starting to be... The general audience is no longer interested, and so the people that were a part of whatever scene that was, the trans-trender scene, which I guess it kind of was, the people who were a part of that are losing their audience, and they're bickering with each other, because that's what always happens. When a scene forms, at first it's a party, let's say it's a genre of music, let's say it's house music. In the early 2000s, a lot of people got into, in the early teens, in early this decade, people got really into house music, and a bunch of people came to house shows, where there was music that was, oonce, 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 and it was actually fun for a while. And then everybody became a house DJ by 2012. Like, literally everybody thought that they were a house DJ. And then by 2014, everybody hated each other, and there wasn't enough slots for DJs to actually play anymore. There wasn't really an audience anymore. The audience was sick of it, but the only people that were really keeping it alive were the DJs. They kept throwing nights, hoping that people would show up, but nobody did. And then of course the DJs started fighting with each other because they all wanted time slots to DJ. And all they really knew how to do was house, because I don't know if anyone knows anything about music. House is not a very complicated genre, so you can easily learn how to be a somewhat decent house DJ, but not be able to do anything else at all. So when people stop being interested in house, you're SOL in terms of music. So yeah, I feel like what's going on, and this is kind of sad with this person existed as being someone who is basically trans. I don't know what sort of hormones and surgeries they went on, but this person was trans enough to be trans. They lived life presenting as a woman, for the most part. And but before it was cool, and then it became cool, and now it's, I guess, not really cool. But I don't want to say that it was this person's choice. This person was just kind of like that. It just seemed the most natural for this person. And now everybody's like, "Oh, you're over," you know, and I understand that pain. I've as a gay guy, I've been through periods where people acted like gay guys are no longer cool or something, and or like we were cool and now we're not anymore or something, and it's like I didn't even know that I was being judged by my identity in terms of that kind of a thing. I didn't know that. I expect it now a little bit. Minorities will get tokenized, and it's trendy to tokenize certain minorities at certain times. Gay guys did have a good kind of a run in the 1990s in terms of media glorifying us, and now we don't really get that anymore. Okay, I can get used to that, whatever. But I guess transgender people who have been out for a long time, and especially ones that were involved in things like, music scenes and whatever, are now experiencing the come down. The party's over, and people no longer want to elevate their voices and give them special, spotlight privileges just because they're trans. And now they're all bickering with each other and fighting because it's a shame to realize that people were fawning over you and now they aren't. And this is the kind of post that comes from that realization, I guess. And I don't think that this person is necessarily a bad person. I don't know them well enough to say, like, I don't want to say that they're actually a cool person or whatever, because they could be not a good person. They could be awful for all I know. But I do know that they have been living their gender truth for a very long time, and I think it's a little sad to witness this type of rage from them publicly, because it's just a little sad. All right, that's all.